Good afternoon, Dave. Thank
Good afternoon, Charlie. Let's start by talking over each other.
I think we should.
Okay, good. Mission accomplished.
Why don't you do the intro?
Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, David. How are you?
It's not morning in either of our locations, is it?
No, not even a little bit.
Well,
it's actually about 2 o'clock in the afternoon here in the Midwest.
That's the perfect time for some Dwarf Fortress, isn't it?
I've always said that. Now that I've had my Dwarven Ale first thing in the morning, I like to start into the game. After lunch, after I've had some bison, maybe
some elk,
some of that mutton, thinly sliced.
Mm-hmm. MLT.
Little MLT.
Yeah.
So let's fire up some Dwarf Fortress. Now, last week I wrote a piece, and it was inspired by your piece about the new release of Dwarf Fortress. But I sat down with Tarn Adams, the guy that did much of the coding for Dwarf Fortress, and I asked him, how are you doing this? How is it that a world gets created in Dwarf Fortress? We kind of ran down the thing. So I just wanted to kind of do it live for you here, because I know that you'd asked me some additional questions. So this is a fresh install of the new version of Dwarf Fortress. Let's create a world, Dave.
Okay.
I'm going to hit the button.
There's a button.
There is a button, the world button.
Wait, what's going on here?
I actually don't know.
Good.
So now it says, welcome to Dwarf Fortress. This doesn't work right in big friendly letters.
Oh.
It always says that, though. But now you get to pick. What kind of size world do you want? I'm here to tell you that the larger the world, the longer it's going to take it to generate. So for everyone's time, let's just go with the standard, which is a medium world.
One medium world coming up.
Coming right up. Here we go. So it starts by naming the world. You can see that right up there at the top there. Anna Thaathra. And that is Elven. I'm fairly sure of that. And it translates to the oracular plane.
I'm sure you mean Elvish.
Did I say Elven?
You did.
Oh my God, Alexa's going to kill me. But yes, Elvish. But I think that's fairly prescient. The oracular plane. So what it's doing right now is it started by preparing the elevation. And you actually saw it flip between a number of different world maps. It creates a map about twice the size of New Jersey, and then it throws it away until it gets the right levels of high points and low points. Then it lays out the temperature of the region randomly. It actually runs the rivers. All these little blue streaks that you see here are procedurally generated and mapped onto the world through a process of erosion that actually takes place. It puts in little lakes here. You can see the little squiggles. These, I believe, are lakes. It grows the vegetation. It adds the wildlife. And then it does something really cool, and that is that it recounts the legends. And right now we're actually in the age of myth. You can see over here, it's the year 105. And about 18,000, now we're coming up on 19,000 historical figures have lived, or are currently living. And this many, about 5,500 of them, are dead. And 93,000, 95,000 now historical events have taken place in this world that we're watching form right before our eyes. So all these little umlauts here, they look like almost omega signs.
I got it.
These are actually little human settlements. I believe that these AE symbols in ASCII smashed together, I believe those are actually elven settlements. And so you're actually watching them kind of flourish and fade. In the background, they're actually fighting wars amongst each other. Out in the wilderness here, great beasts are coming to life, and they are going on rampages into the neighboring civilized areas and returning with their victims.
Beastly rampages, check.
As you do. But there's also, somewhat hidden to us, there's another overlay here that talks about good areas and evil areas. There's an energy to the world that influences not only place names, but also the events and the types of animals and creatures that are going to live there. So we're into year 180. The trouble that it's having is that all of these historical civilizations are now kind of put into a giant algorithmic matrix, and they're interacting with each other. People are marrying each other, people are killing each other, people are going on wars and conducting trade and building up the resources of individual cities. And my processor is actually about, one of the cores is about completely maxed out by this process. And now you just actually saw the perspective of the map shift. We kind of are looking at a southern area of the map now.
Now, why did it shift like that?
I don't know. It just kind of, it tends to change the view. The map is actually somewhat larger than the screen that we're looking at right now, so it shifts once or twice throughout World Gen.
And how did you know it was the southern area?
Because up by the north, all that blue area there, that was actually a polar ice cap that had formed.
Oh, okay.
So this is it moving south towards a
Sure.
more tropical area.
Okay. As it continues to build an entire world,
Right.
medium-sized.
Medium-sized world. 129 by 129, which is about 16,000 square miles, is what Tarn told me in our interview. So now the era has ticked over. We're into the third age of legends now. You can actually see up here in the upper left, 10 different regions were generated and then thrown away because they didn't meet the criteria for the right elevations or landmass shapes.
Huh. So this is what happens every time you launch a new Dwarf Fortress game, is that the entire world gets created and then runs for centuries?
Centuries, yes. You can actually set it to a custom number. You can actually go all the way up and past 1,000 years, but it can take like a half an hour or more for it to do this process. So here we are. It took about 2 minutes, but we just created the oracular plane. There it is. And now what we can do is we hit enter to accept it, and it's going to save. It's actually going to write this world to disk. And we'll be able to do three things with this world. We'll be able to play in what is essentially a roguelike game and take our little personal character and travel all over this world. But we'll also be able to do the traditional Dwarf Fortress game, which is creating a mountainside stronghold and digging into the earth and building up a small dwarven society.
A Dwarf Fortress?
A Dwarf Fortress, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But with this new version, Dave, I actually haven't even done that yet. I haven't done that because I found this other thing called Legends Viewer. So Legends Viewer is actually over here. And this is a user-generated, a fan-generated mod for Dwarf Fortress. And I wanted to show you around another world that I had created, just so you could kind of take a look at some of the crazy stuff that it's able to show us. So actually, I'm going to pull up an older version of Dwarf Fortress, which is a little more stable and has worked a little better for me in the past. So I'm going to let that kind of simmer over here to one side while I pull up the old Legends Viewer, which is right here. So there we are. Here's the Legends Viewer. Bingo.
I found it.
So what we're going to do is we are going to pull into memory a world I've already generated into this Legends Viewer, and then we're going to also pull it into the regular Dwarf Fortress, and we're just going to kind of dig into the history of this world that I've created.
Okay. That you wouldn't have seen, right?
No.
It's all that stuff that was happening while we waited and watched.
It is absolutely invisible to the player until you go out and spend days and weeks and months playing the game and only see a small portion of it. But with this tool, we can actually we can actually dig down into it without having to go and discover it and see more of it than we ever would.
Okay. Let's do that.
All right, doing it right now. Actually, we're going to flip to the new version because the old version isn't working for me right now. And the way this works, what I did is there's a way after you created a world in Dwarf Fortress, you can actually export that map, and you export that map as a .png file, and that's just the landscape map. Then you can, on top of that, export the topographical map. You can export the good and evil map. You can export the temperature map, the salinity map, all of these different maps, and you wrap them up along with the XML file that is the history of the world into a zip file, and you feed it into the Legends Viewer, and that's what we're going to be looking at. So this is actually the world that I wrote about when I wrote the article. This is Teoquico, the world of cyclones. And I wanted to take you on a quick little journey to go visit one of the historical figures that I wrote about in the article, who is Sazir Stockadebolt, the confining spell. Do you remember reading about her?
I do.
Okay. So we're going to also go into Dwarf Fortress, which is very important to do. We're going to start playing Dwarf Fortress. We're going to go to Region 3, which is Teoquico. And we're going to start in Legends mode. And between these two tools, we'll actually be able to learn a little bit more about Sazir. So here's historical figures. We're going to filter. We're going to find Cæsar Stockadebolt. These are all their dwarven names. So I'm actually having to go through translation right now to try and find their anglicized names.
Of course you are.
It provides a slight bit. There she is. Sazir. Yeah, that name.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we found her.
There she is. She looks like a bunch of text, Charlie.
She is. All right, so we're going to start over here on the Legends viewer, okay? We can see that Caesar Stockade Bolt was born in the year 89 and died in the year 195, and that she was murdered by a dwarf named Erdim Passoirs. Now, using this Legends viewer, I can actually click on Erdim and go to his record and read about him, which is crazy. Not something you can do inside Dwarf Fortress. But reading down the list here on Sazir, we see that she was a female, and she actually had a personal goal. She wanted to create a great work of art. But then there was this weird thing here. Journey pets. She actually took as a pet a cave dragon. So if we go over here to the Legends viewer inside the game itself, this is a chronological history of her entire life. She was born in 89. In 90, she was abducted by goblins and imprisoned by a goblin horde called the Noiseless Jackal. Are you following me here?
I hate when that happens. I do.
After being imprisoned, she came to live there as a citizen of this dark fortress called Dangle Plague. And I can actually go down into the Legends viewer and I can click on the Dangle Plague and I can then go find it in the world map. So that's where it is. That's where the Dangle Plague is. Okay.
That's where she went to live.
That's where she went to live. All of these other things, like she married, her husband was slain, she went on to be a great warrior. All of those things are recorded here in her history within Dwarf Fortress. But then you can also see in the mid-spring of 176, she tamed a foul beast called a jabberer in the depths of the world. Later, she tamed something called a rutherer in the depths of the world. But she also, in 156, just a few years before, went into the depths of the world, as dwarves do, and tamed a cave dragon, and it became her pet.
This is one tough lady.
It's insane. But now we can see all of the battles that she participated in as a leader of the Earth of Infamy clan of goblins. Okay?
So the Legends viewer within the game gives you a sort of broad overview. Mm-hmm. And what is the mod called?
This is called Legends Viewer.
Is it the same name? Is it the same name? What's the one on the right?
Dwarf Fortress is Legends Mode.
Legends Mode versus
that's
Legends
a game mode.
Viewer. Got it.
Right.
Okay. So Legends Viewer lets you extract the information and then tie it into the world, as opposed to just seeing it sort of as a long string of text.
Exactly.
Being told.
It's like a hot-linked database of all of the things that have happened in this world, over like 80-some thousand events that have happened in this world, all of them hyperlinked and correlated to the individuals who participated in the events.
And somebody just figured out how to do this. This is a mod. This is not developer provided. All that information's in there.
Yes.
Somebody figured out how to make it happen.
It gets better, accessible. Dave. It gets better. Okay, let's go look at just one of these battles, okay? The Dangerous Assaults. They were part of the Cremated War, okay? Mm-hmm. So each individual assault within the war, they're named automatically by the game in 2 minutes as you do World Gen. Just want to make sure that's clear.
Got it.
So here we have the Dangerous Assaults. In the Dangerous Assaults, the Maroon Nightmares were the attacking clan. They lost 375 of their forces out of 465. A horrible loss. But the dwarves, on the other side, the Earth of Infamy dwarves, they lost 28 of their 32. And it actually goes through and lists all of the people that died. And you can go out and look at their individual life histories as well. The level of detail is just incredible. Like right here, the dwarf M. Flicker Monster led the attack. He was the general of this army before Sazir Stockade Bolt took his place. Okay, now let's go a level deeper. Let's go look at the world map. I'm going to click on the world map here. So this is the history of just this attack, okay? And you can see here's the goblins attacking this dwarven stronghold.
Of course.
So remember I said there were 250 years of history, though?
Yes.
This happened in like the 150s or 160s, okay? Let's kind of roll the clock forward. Sure. This is the whole overworld map. And you remember the battles that Sazir was involved in were right down here. Mm-hmm. The Maroon Nightmares were her clan. They were going after the confining spell, I believe. So what you can do with this system, though, this database that the fan-created mod provides you with, is you can actually roll the clock back. We're going to do it right now. It is currently the year 231. And by holding control and scrolling my mouse wheel, I can actually go back in time. And what you're going to watch happen on the map is the little lines and colored dots that are the civilizations are going to change shape and change color and change size. So actually right down here, Sazir's little colony of goblins, this is right around the end of her life. We're around 184 right here. So they're going to lose some of their land. Going even further back, you can actually watch their little campaign that she led them on kind of roll back. So here's their growth as a goblin people, just kind of rolling back in time to her birth. And here's the dwarves that she was fighting against and was originally part of. They're growing as well. So here's the year 72. Here's the goblins she originally became part of. Here's the dwarves she was born to. And now just watch the two little civilizations kind of bounce off each other. And this is all just being generated in the background as part of world generation.
Nothing you would ever see if you didn't go looking for it. No,
nothing you would ever see. You would just see the world as it exists at 250. And we're going to scroll quickly to 250. This is when the world begins. All of the battles have already been fought. All of the trade is already being conducted. But using this tool, you can go back in time and watch the history being written. And each of these little spots lets you dig just a little bit deeper into the stories. This is another outpost of the Maroon Nightmares. And I can go on and say, all right, this is the Scorpion Labors. It's a dark pits area. And this is the history of this particular area of the map. It's completely insane.
It is, in fact, completely insane. And so also anyway, completely hidden.
Completely hidden.
That's so
just
good.
There because the Addams brothers thought it was important enough to make a world this detailed. And they've spent the last 11 years doing it.
That was the question, right? The obvious question is why? Why do they do this?
Because they want to. This is their life's work, and that's the reason why it's in the MoMA. It's sitting in the MoMA right now because they agree as well that this is really just a marvelous piece of gaming art, and it's still being built, and you can play with it right now.
That's it's pretty great. I have to say.
It's awesome.
We should talk more about this, I think.
I think we should.
Let's do that.
All right.
Okay.
Well, thanks for going down the rabbit hole with me, Dave.
I'm glad that I was able to do that. Dwarf Fortress is a fascinating but kind of impenetrable game if you have to do it by yourself. So you've helped me, and I hope we're helping other people. We're here to help.
I'll talk to you soon, man.
Right. Bye.